Primary source: Cities Recognize Indigenous Peoples Day by governments of Denver, Colorado, Corvi, Oregon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Lewiston, New York, adapted by New Zealand staff on 12/9/19. Editor's note: Americans first celebrated Columbus Day in the late 1700s. It marks the arrival of Christopher Columbus in the Americas. It was the beginning of European colonization. In recent years, though, indigenous groups have criticized the holiday. They point out Columbus's cruel treatment of Native people. Some places are now replacing Columbus Day. They are changing it to Indigenous Peoples Day. It honors Native Americans instead of Columbus. It celebrates their history and culture. Below are proclamations from cities that made the change official. Denver, Colorado. Because Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977, it was advanced by a delegation of Native nations. And Colorado includes the ancestral homelands of 48 tribes. Denver currently is home to descendants of about 100 tribal nations. Their people have lived and thrived here for ages. And Denver values the contributions made by Indigenous people. These contributions include knowledge, science, and the arts. And Denver shall continue to promote racial equality and justice for all people. It shall oppose unfair treatment of Indigenous peoples. Be it proclaimed by the City and County of Denver that in an effort to promote knowledge about Indigenous peoples and in the effort to eliminate discrimination against Indigenous peoples, Denver, Colorado does hereby proclaim October 12th, 2015 as Indigenous Peoples Day, passed by the Council on October 12th, 2015. Corvi, Oregon. Because Christopher Columbus landed where indigenous peoples already lived, and Columbus's voyage to the Americas led to crimes. These crimes included the start of transatlantic slavery. They included acts of genocide against indigenous people. And the indigenous people were promised safety. Instead, they were forced to relocate. Their land was seized to allow for European settlements. And the city of Corvi was historically inhabited by the Kalapuya people. And the city of Corvi honors the contributions made in our community by indigenous people. Therefore, I, the mayor of Corvi, Oregon, do hereby proclaim Monday 12th, October 12th, 2015, is Indigenous Peoples Day in the city. I strongly encourage community members, schools, and businesses to recognize the contributions of our indigenous communities. I encourage the continued promotion of their well-being. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Because Albuquerque recognizes that indigenous nations have lived here for ages, our city values the contribution of American Indian thought, culture, and technology. They have contributed to our progress. And representatives from 120 indigenous nations passed a resolution. It was an effort to reveal a more accurate historical record of the discovery of the United States of America. Native peoples have faced enormous challenges, yet their contributions have benefited our state and country. And Albuquerque shall continue to promote the well-being of our American Indian community. And Albuquerque encourages businesses and organizations to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. It is a day to remember the struggles of Indigenous people on this land. It is a day to celebrate their thriving culture. It is a day to value all that our Indigenous nations contribute to our city. Be it proclaimed, the Council hereby recognizes the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. Lewiston, New York. Because natives and non-natives have shared this community for hundreds of years, during which time the indigenous people have provided us friendship, guidance, and protection. And Lewiston wishes to recognize indigenous people with a day to celebrate and honor them. It is a day to reflect on their experiences. It is an opportunity to honor their roots, history, and contributions. And Lewiston wishes to preserve and promote the history and culture of all indigenous people. It believes the time has come to observe a holiday in their name. So therefore, be it resolved, the town of Lewiston declares the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day from this day forward.